People move to Covington for the oak trees, the quiet streets, and the idea of a calmer life on the North Shore. On paper, it looks simple. Better schools, more space, and a small downtown instead of a bridge fight twice a day. But the reality is that some families come up here, buy the dream, and then quietly move back or sideways a few years later. Not because Covington failed them, but because they didn't factor in the North Shore tax on their time and their wallet. The mortgage, the commute pattern, the insurance, the way kids' activities stack up on your calendar, it all adds up. And if you miss that math on the front end, the lifestyle you came here for can start to feel very heavy instead of grounding. That hidden cost piece is what trips up a lot of New Orleans transplants. They run the numbers on the house and the school zone, but they don't really price the rhythm change, the tolls, the drive time, the maintenance on more space, and how their spending naturally shifts when home becomes the center of life. Covington still fits the same three broad groups. First, school-age families who want stronger schools and shorter daily loops. These are the folks who are looking at report cards, class sizes, and yards. They want a place where mornings don't feel like a scramble across town. In Covington, schools, activities, and home tend to sit within a fairly tight circle. I'm Margaret, and in this video, I'm going to walk you through the real North Shore tax, how the money and the daily rhythm interact, and which Covington neighborhoods make that trade feel worth it. The goal is simple, so you can enjoy the life you're moving here for, instead of paying for a version of Covington that doesn't fit you. You get parks, the Trace, a real downtown, plus neighborhoods where kids can ride bikes and adults can walk in the evening without feeling like they're in a resort or a gated bubble. It's a normal life, upgraded by better planning. The third group is retirees and near retirees, people who are done chasing promotions and want health care, community, and access. They like that there are hospitals and medical offices close by, that you can walk or bike on flat trails, and that downtown has regular events without feeling overwhelming. For this group, New Orleans becomes the day trip, a museum, a show, a nice dinner. And Covington is the place you come back to when you're ready to exhale. What ties these three groups together is not age, but appetite for stability. Covington appeals to people who are tired of constantly rearranging their life. They might move again down the road, but they're not designing around that. They're designing around school calendars, career seasons, grandkids, and a desire for more predictable days.
It works well for people who want room to breathe but still care about access, who like the idea of knowing their neighbors, who would rather their weekends center around markets, ball games, and the river with the city as a bonus, not the whole identity. Most people assume they have to pick between acreage and walkable daily life, but there's a little pocket we'll talk about later that bends that rule more than you'd expect. Once you understand that Covington is fundamentally about rhythm schools, commutes, and daily life fitting together, the next layer is how the financial side interacts with that slower pace. That's where being intentional about timelines and budgets really starts to matter. It's also where certain neighborhood styles start to stand out. Some ask you to pay more for walkability and design, others for land and seclusion, and the numbers tell you which rhythm actually fits you.
When people talk about cost of living in Covington, they usually jump straight to, is it cheaper than New Orleans or is it expensive for the North Shore? That's not very helpful. The better question is, what are we actually paying for here? And how does that feel month to month? Start with the big piece, your mortgage. On the North Shore, you're often trading a slightly higher purchase price than some parts of the city for more square footage, a newer build, or a larger lot. So the payment might be similar or a bit higher, but what you get for that payment changes. You're paying for space, for layout that fits family life, and for being in a school zone that already works instead of layering private tuition on top. Then there are property taxes. In many Covington areas, taxes run higher than some pockets of Orleans Parish, but you're also pairing that with different services and school options. It's less about is this tax bill good or bad, and more about whether the full package, schools, roads, drainage, day-to-day function lines up with your priorities. For a lot of families, that trade feels reasonable once they compare it to private school or a longer commute. Insurance is the piece that surprises people if they haven't done their homework. You're still in South Louisiana, but you're north of the lake. That usually means a different profile than being right on the water or behind an older levee system. Premiums can still be meaningful, especially with storms in the news, but in many cases they feel more manageable than in certain flood-prone cities neighborhoods. The key is to price insurance early, not as an afterthought. Maintenance is another quiet cost that matters more here because you tend to have more house and more yard. Big trees, larger roofs, fences, driveways, they all need care. Older homes with character can come with older systems. Newer homes might bring HOA dues instead of big immediate repairs. Planning roughly 1 to 1.5% of your home's value per year for upkeep keeps expectations realistic. Some years you just handle small things. Other years a roof or an air conditioner reminds you of why that buffer exists.
Lifestyle spending tends to tilt too. In Covington, you still go out to eat, but there's less pull for constant late-night plans. Your money often shifts toward the house, the yard, kids' activities, sports, dance, church, the trace, weekend outings. You're investing in your own space and routine more than in daily entertainment. When you stack all of this together, mortgage, taxes, insurance, maintenance, commuting, and how you actually spend your free time, Covington usually rewards people who are intentional, not speculative buyers chasing a quick win, but people who want their housing, their budget, and their lifestyle to cooperate. If you walk into it with clear numbers and realistic expectations, the cost of living here tends to feel less like a shock and more like a trade you're consciously making for a different quality of life. And once those numbers feel grounded, it becomes easier to look at the neighborhoods that lean harder into lifestyle, the enclaves where you're choosing a very specific way your days will feel and paying accordingly.
Once you have a handle on the numbers, the next layer is asking what kind of environment you actually want those dollars to buy. In Covington, there are a few neighborhoods where you're not just buying a house, you're buying a very specific way your days feel. Tchefuncte, River Oaks, and Terra all live in that category, but in different forms.
Start with Tchefuncte Estates. This is the river, the marina, the big lots, the mature trees. It feels like its own internal world where life revolves around the water and the club as much as the individual house. People who feel at ease in Tchefuncte are usually already settled financially or very clear on priorities. They're not buying a first home. They're buying the place for mornings on the porch, afternoons on the boat, evenings where friends drop by. The house is lifestyle, not leverage. That comes with realities. Larger homes, complex roofs, big yards, and amenities at this level mean higher carrying costs, insurance, maintenance, dues. If you have to stretch to be there, the calm you're paying for can quickly feel like pressure. River Oaks sits close in spirit. You still have privacy, big trees, and that tucked away feeling, but with its own personality. It attracts people who like being off the main path, who want neighbors but not constant activity. Drives are slower, walks are quieter, and the outside world feels a little farther away even when it isn't. In both of these enclaves, the common thread is containment. Your life can operate inside the neighborhood lines. Kids on bikes, golf carts, river days, gatherings at the club or in backyards. You still use the rest of Covington, but you don't need it to feel complete. That appeals to people who know they want a strong home base and are comfortable paying for that level of privacy and order.
Terra, on the other hand, is the curated village. Front porches closer to a sidewalk, a central square, restaurants, coffee, maybe an office or two woven into the neighborhood. You're paying less for acreage and more for design, walkability, and daily convenience. The draw here is community design. You can step out of your front door and quickly be on a path at the square or in the pocket park. There are planned events and seasonal gatherings and enough density that you see your neighbors without having to plan it. It's for people who like the idea of small town inside of the town. Financially, Terra usually comes with higher HOA fees and stricter design guidelines. It helps to think of that as a lifestyle subscription. You're paying monthly for shared spaces, a consistent look, and a built-in social hum, not just your individual roof and yard.
This setup works well for buyers who value intentional community design, people who want to walk the dog without crossing a major road, who like kids having friends a few doors down, who find comfort in knowing the neighborhood will age in a coordinated way. If you're someone who craves more land, more autonomy, or a workshop in the back where no one cares what color you paint it, Terra's structure might feel tight. If you want easy connection and low-effort social life, it often feels just right. Put Tchefuncte, River Oaks, and Terra side by side and the through line is clear. All three are consumption-first choices. You're paying primarily for how your days feel. The river access, the seclusion, the walkable village, not trying to squeeze every last dollar of appreciation out of the property. That doesn't make them poor financial decisions, but the main return shows up in your calendar and your rituals. Morning boat rides, evening strolls, kids running into friends without a 20-minute drive. If that's the kind of life you're designing, these neighborhoods can make sense. If instead you're looking for more flexibility room to create value or to balance lifestyle with more straightforward numbers, the next set of Covington neighborhoods opens up a different way to live here. If those estate and village communities are about buying a very specific feeling, Old Covington and Flower Estates are where lifestyle and logic sit closer together. Same town, same access to the Trace and the river, but more room to shape your own path financially. Old Covington, sometimes called the Division of St. John, and the surrounding historic grid is what people picture when they say downtown Covington. Narrower streets, sidewalks, oak canopies, and a mix of cottages, mid-century homes, and long-held family properties. It doesn't feel curated, it feels accumulated. The draw is simple. You can live in a house in a neighborhood that plugs straight into daily life. You're close enough to walk or bike to restaurants, the farmer's market, coffee galleries, and the riverfront. Housing stock is mixed in a way that creates opportunity. On one block, you might see a renovated cottage, a more dated ranch, and a place that hasn't changed much in decades. That variety opens doors for buyers willing to take on problems intentionally, outdated kitchens, old wiring, tired roofs, or floor plans that need to be rethought. To give you a better idea of what I mean by opportunity and space here, let's take a quick look at a properties that perfectly fits in these Covington profiles. If you have the appetite, cash reserves, and bandwidth, those problems can become your equity engine over time. You're not flipping. You're modernizing a home in a location people consistently want. The upside shows up slowly in both livability and value. But this is not a light hobby. Older homes downtown require patience. You might be dealing with permitting, historic considerations, or the realities of working around old plumbing and electrical. Renovations take longer, cost more, and ask more of your schedule. If your life is already stretched thin, buying a project here can feel more like a second job than a smart move. For experienced buyers or very deliberate families who know they want that downtown rhythm, Old Covington can be a strong match. You get the walkability and small town feel right away, with the option to improve the property over time as money and energy allow. Just a few minutes away, Flower Estates offers a different equation. Here, the emotional pull is space, larger lots, mature landscaping, and streets that feel quiet and residential without being sterile. There's a clear pride of ownership thread. Lawns cared for, gardens tended, houses adjusted to fit the families inside them. In Flower Estates, you're not usually hunting for heavy distress as a strategy. You're accepting higher ongoing maintenance as the cost of the space and control you get. Bigger yards mean more mowing, more irrigation decisions, more trees to trim, longer driveways, more exterior surfaces, and sometimes older pools or outbuildings all ask for attention. This works well for people who actually enjoy tending a property, the ones who like weekend projects and find satisfaction in pruning cleaning, painting, and tweaking the patio. They're not trying to minimize every chore, they see those chores as part of the story of living there. If one of these rhythms feels close to how you want life to feel, the next step is local. Watch the Covington map tour for a deeper look at schools, commutes, and how these neighborhoods sit on the map, then call, text, or email me. We'll match your budget, schools, and commute to the neighborhood and the style of home that fits you now with room to grow.
So let's start in Terra Village, which feels a little bit like a southern storybook. Front porches, walkable streets, and everything designed around community. This home was built in 2018, so it still feels fresh, modern, and very easy to live in. It's just under 1820 square feet, all on one level, with 3 bedrooms and 2 baths, which is exactly what a lot of buyers moving to Covington are looking for. What really stands out is the open floor plan. The kitchen flows straight into the living and dining areas, making it ideal for entertaining without feeling oversized. You've got quartz countertops, a large island, stainless steel appliances, and a walk-in pantry. Everything feels intentional, not builder basic. There's no carpet anywhere in the home, plantation shutters throughout, and high-end finishes like triple crown molding and shiplap accents that add character without being overdone. One of my favorite features is the private courtyard. It's quiet, low maintenance, and perfect if you want outdoor space with a big yard to manage. And with a whole house generator and community amenities like a pool, this is a great option if you want walkable village living with modern comfort. This next home shows a completely different side of Covington. More central, more approachable, and a fantastic value for what you're getting. This is a newer home built in 2022 with over 1,840 square feet, and it's a one-story layout, which a lot of buyers ask for. The living room is warm and welcoming with a gas fireplace framed by brick and a wood mantel. It feels cozy but still open and bright thanks to the oversized windows. The kitchen is clean and functional, quartz countertops, stainless steel appliances, plenty of cabinetry, and a breakfast bar that connects naturally to the living and dining areas. One thing that really sets this home apart is the dedicated office right off the entry. Whether you work from home, want a hobby room, or need flexible space, that's a huge plus. Out back, you've got a covered patio and a fully fenced yard. Great for pets, kids, or just having a little privacy without a ton of upkeep. And being minutes from downtown Covington, schools, shopping, and the causeway makes this home a smart option if you want convenience without a luxury level price point.
Now let's take a look at the estate side of Covington. This is Tchefuncte Club Estates, one of the most prestigious gated communities on the North Shore. Foyer, grand entry. This home was built in 2023 and spans about 6,000 square feet of living space with 6 bedrooms and 6 baths. From the moment you walk in, the scale and craftsmanship are undeniable. You'll notice wide plank white oak floors, custom millwork, designer wallpaper, and carefully curated finishes throughout. Nothing here feels accidental. It's luxury that still feels livable. Kitchen plus butler's pantry. The kitchen is truly a showstopper, featuring professional-grade appliances, a Le Cornu range, and a dramatic marble waterfall island. The butler's pantry keeps everything polished and ready for entertaining. Primary suite. The primary suite feels like a private retreat, with spa-level marble finishes and a layout designed for both comfort and privacy. Upstairs, flex spaces. Upstairs, there's flexibility, guest suites, a media room or game space, perfect for larger households or frequent visitors. Outdoor entertaining. And outside, you've got an outdoor kitchen, entertainment areas, and a setting designed for gatherings, all backed by whole home systems like a generator, security, and surround sound. If one of these rhythms feels close to how you want life to feel, the next step is local. Watch the Covington map tour for a deeper look at schools, commutes, and how these neighborhoods sit on the map, then call, text, or email me. We'll match your budget, schools, and commute to the neighborhood and the style of home that fits you now with room to grow.